Salary, Beskar.
We traveled all the way to Japan to review The Mandalorian because, as we all know, Japanese cinema was one of the inspirations for Star Wars, and we spare no expense here on Reviews on the Run. No, it's just so happened that I've been traveling and I've been able to entertain myself in the quieter moments as we've been on trains, planes, and automobiles, and I had a chance to check out the first episode of The Mandalorian. The second episode might actually have already aired by the time this is rolling, but this is a show that we have been waiting for a long time. The tease at Comic-Con and the announcement that Jon Favreau was going to be working with Dave Filoni, a venerable auteur in the Star Wars universe, creating his first live-action properties was just so enticing and so exhilarating. And then some of the other names started to filter in. Carl Weathers, Werner Herzog, Taika Waititi, Pedro Pascal as the Mandalorian.
I like those odds.
It's just an eclectic group of very, very talented people that you wouldn't, I think, first point your finger at and say, of course, those are going to be the people that star in a new Star Wars property. And that's what's incredibly uplifting about this concept and about this exercise and this entertainment. It just feels so risky, but also tied to familiar tropes, and it also does an incredible job at making good on the promise of Boba Fett.
Good.
And all of these dreams that we used to have as kids when we first saw The Empire Strikes Back and Return of the Jedi, and we saw this incredible character, or maybe some of you suffered through the Star Wars Christmas special, I don't know.
Settle down.
But, you know, I had those action figures of Boba Fett, and he was the coolest. He's still the coolest, even though he was just summarily thrown into a pit and died in the cheesiest, most deflating way possible. Still, love Boba Fett, always have, always will. But here is a show where we see a Mandalorian bounty hunter in action. We get to see him use his gadgets and his wits and his smart-ass remarks, and it's wonderfully put together.
His enthusiasm outweighs his discretion.
What I love about this first episode is how jam-packed it is. It's very short. It's only about 38 minutes, but it's loaded with content, loaded with lots of nice touches and tips of the hat to lots of Star Wars lore that we've seen over the years. Lots of cool aliens, fantastic attitudes, and terrific performances. And Herzog has always been an incredible performer on screen because he's got a voice like nobody else.
Please lower your blaster.
Also, Carl Weathers has always been one of my favorites, and he always plays larger-than-life characters, and it's great to see him as an older, slightly beat-up gentleman that knows how to get the most out of the bounty hunters that he works with. But it's Taika Waititi as a new robot bounty hunter, a new IG unit that is completely scene-stealing, totally steals the show, and is so much fun to watch. Incredible to see this robot in action with precision and flipping around. We've never seen a robot with that. I guess we saw little glimpses of that with K2SO, but this new IG unit in The Mandalorian is something else. Definitely got an attitude and a vibe of its own with a soundtrack that doesn't sound like anything else from the Star Wars movies or television shows that have come before it, which I appreciated. The cinematography in the show, which obviously evokes an old Western, that's definitely the style of this. It's a Wild West show in the space. The way that the Mandalorian just sort of struts into the cantinas and the doors all open and the lights kind of are blasted behind him, and some of the ruthlessness that the Mandalorian will show to people that he's dealing with those doors to cantinas. Incredible stuff. And in fact, it made me think of dreams that I would have had back in the 80s after seeing Star Wars movies in the theater and then eventually on home video, thinking, man, wouldn't it be incredible if we had a Star Wars show? And there's an element of The Mandalorian that feels like it's ripped right from the 1980s and right from that swirl of imagination that was happening with the Star Wars expanded universe and the comic books and, you know, all of these role-playing games, all that stuff that erupted out of the love and adoration that people had for Star Wars. That's what The Mandalorian feels like in 2019, but with 2019 special effects and beautiful use of puppetry and CG work that blends seamlessly together. Incredibly cool to watch. Now, you may have a question about The Mandalorian being good enough to subscribe to Disney Plus on its own. Thankfully, you don't have to make that call because there's lots of content on Disney Plus, but I think it is exceptional. I think it's amazing, and I think it speaks to the kinetic and creative quality of this partnership that Jon Favreau and Dave Filoni have. I'm excited to see what this leads into. We may be disappointed with Rise of Skywalker, but I am super excited to see where this is all leading.
Would you agree?
I don't know how the rest of the season is going to go with The Mandalorian. I haven't seen more than the first episode, but I am all in. This more than exceeded my hopes and expectations. I'm giving The Mandalorian Episode 1 from Season 1 a full 10 out of 10.